Good morning. The following answers will be solely your expressed opinion and will be used as part of a public website and/or blog. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed for this oral history project. Let's begin the interview. Hello.
Hi,
Can you please tell me your name?
Ella Miano.
And Suella, can you tell me how old you are, please?
Well, I'll be 85 in September,
And can you tell me where you're from?
right here.
Which is?
And I'm the sixth generation
To be here
in this house.
Oh, wow. And how long have you lived in Ronceverte then?
Well, starting in 29 until I got married, and then I was away and then came back.
That's great. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and start our interview. Suella, as a long-term resident of Ronceverte, West Virginia, how do you personally feel that the town and the community has changed over the last 50 years?
Well, when I lived here back in the day, everybody knew everybody. It was a very warm and caring community.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this was a big farm. And so we didn't go to town like everybody else. We went on Saturday night for salt and sugar and flour. But otherwise, we were pretty self-sufficient because we had dairy cattle and chickens. And but going to town on Saturday night was a really big treat. And you saw everybody.
Will you tell me about some of the activities you did downtown? What was your favorite thing to do when you would go downtown on Saturday? Or one of your favorites?
Well, I guess going to the movie was the big thing. And then, as I remember, we ran around in groups and didn't do a lot of anything, just hung out. The Elwood Bear's drugstore, well, it was Sterling Bear's drugstore. That was the place where you congregated. Had your Cokes and your cherry phosphates.
What's that?
Well,
Is it like a Coke, sort of? Or, that sounds good.
Mostly cherry and...
like soda water?
Soda water.
That sounds good. I like that. Suella, now you said that this was a working farm. Can you tell me a little bit about what this was like growing up on a farm?
Well, we had a milk delivery twice a day.
Oh, wow.
Keith Morgan was one of our delivery boys. Well, when I look back, I think we had our big meal at noon. That was dinner. And supper was what was left over from dinner.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
But we had a huge garden. We canned, and I don't remember working in the garden much. My grandmother and mother did, and my father. And I really wasn't allowed in the kitchen because my mother and my grandmother were the kitchen people. And I remember they milked the cows twice a day, scrubbed the milk buckets, bottled the milk, and my father, in the meantime, had a rural mail route.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was dirt roads and forded 2 creeks and drove nothing but a Model A Ford. He loved his Model A's. And he couldn't get parts for them, so he just bought up what he could find, took the parts. And when he died, there were about 5 old Model A's sitting out here in the yard, which my mother paid somebody to haul away.
Oh, that's a shame. I know, because that'd be cool to see today.
My friend Ford said to me, do you know what I would have given for one of those?
Oh, goodness.
And I remember riding on the running board.
That's amazing.
If I went to help deliver milk, I got to ride on the running board.
So, Suella, this question might be a little bit different. So, do you feel that the town's changes? I know you said that a lot of times you went to town on Saturday mainly, but this might still make some sense. Do you feel that the town's changes have had a positive, negative, or neutral effect on Ronceverte today?
Well, it's different. And when you're as old as I am, you want things to stay the same. But I'm not I'm not too dumb to know that that's not going to happen. And right now, I think we're in a resurgence. Absolutely. I know we had some bad time. Losing our schools was so hard.
The high schools.
That made the biggest difference in the world. And, well, the old elementary school down there, my father's father, her grandfather, helped build.
Oh, wow.
And my dad told me that he chewed tobacco, and he did the plastering, and he spit in the plaster, and that school was 90% tobacco juice.
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. The sad thing is, it's probably true.
I always walked to school. I walked from here to the high school and came home for lunch.
My goodness. That's a hike, Sue Ella.
It was good for me.
That's good. That's making it back on time for lunch. That's good, though. So when you say we are having a resurgence, why do you feel like that?
Well, I'll have to give most of the credit to Doug Hilton, of course. I'm sure you've heard that before. And for Doug to come back, and he's been an inspiration for one thing. And after the flood, we had that really bad flood, and that really was devastating. And but with his, I don't know what you'd say, just his drive for one thing, and his dedication, he's gotten us off our rear ends and gotten us busy.
Hey, that's great.
What I don't remember from my childhood, what I appreciate now, are the civic organizations. Because I think sometimes that's what, my mother was a devoted garden club lady. And when I think back of those ladies, those two dogwoods in front of the old train depot. They planted many things in that they did to beautify the town.
And now you're carrying on that tradition by helping in some of your clubs
anymore, which is sad. Those ladies, when I came back, I joined mostly because my mother said I had to. But those ladies were in their, the youngest one in there was probably 70 till I joined.
Well, maybe you can start the garden club back up, Sue Ella.
Well, I don't know. That's up to somebody a lot younger than me.
Oh, Sue Ella. Sue Ella, why do you believe that you've remained in Ronceverte, West Virginia for the extent of your life?
I think it has something to do with my soul and my heart and tradition and the background. This property was a land grant from George Washington.
Oh, wow.
And it was settled by the Fogelsongs. It was a Fogelsong property. My grandmother was a Fogelsong. And the tradition that I have is of seeing our relatives come here, listening to their stories. My great aunt lived just down the road. The other one had the boarding house downtown. They were my grandmother's sisters, my cousins. We were all very close. And I guess that had something to do with it. I promised my dad. My dad said, I don't know what's going to happen to the old place. And he said, you can tear it down if you want to. And I said, Daddy, nobody's going to tear this place down. And I promised him I'd come back.
And you did. And you've kept this. I mean, this house is stunning. I mean, you kept it going.
Most of the furniture in it was made by my father's grandfather. And I was in my 30s, I guess, before it occurred to me that, it just had always been here. And I'd say to Daddy, well, where did that come from? Well, grandfather made it. Where'd that come from? Grandfather made it. He said, if it wasn't for grandfather, we wouldn't have any furniture at all. But he said he made the good stuff for other people and we got the leftovers.
And what was your grandfather's name?
my grandfather
Oh, his
it was his grandfather. Well, let's see, there was he was Christopher Fogelsong.
And so was his family, were they cabinet makers, or was this just a hobby that he just a great furniture
shop
maker?
out here on the property. And Daddy said the only place on the place that we couldn't go in was his carpenter shop. We weren't allowed in there. But as soon as he left, we all went to the carpenter shop.
Oh, Sue Ella. Well, Sue Ella, my next question is, can you please share a memory that you have growing up in Ronceverte, West Virginia? So a lot of the other folks that I've interviewed talk about downtown memories, but maybe you want to share a memory of being here on the farm, and what is your favorite, what's a memory of you being here? Because I want to hear.
I loved when the thrashers came.
What's that?
Well, they filled the silo with, for the old silo out there, but it's not there anymore. Next to the barn. And when the thrashers came, that dining room table was just bending with food. The women got up in the morning and cooked and cooked and cooked. And I remember, the head of the thrashers group was Mr. Lawrence. And he drank tea. They served it in the biggest thing they had and put a pitcher beside him. And I loved iced tea, and Mother used to give me a glass and say, well, here, Mr. Lowndes, here's your iced tea, because he drank gallons of it. One time they let me go up in the silo. Now, it had windows on it where they blew the stuff in. It was dangerous.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You had to keep moving, and then they let me get on one level and took me off on the other. But that was a big deal for me to get to go up in the silo. And my job was to churn the butter on the back porch, and when I was growing up in the summertime, we walked to the river every day.
Oh wow, that's at least 2-3 miles from here, isn't it?
No, it's a good, I don't know, but Mother called us river rats because we'd go and come back sunburned. We walked home too. And occasionally my dad would take me on the milk route, and I liked that. Or he'd take me on I was a daddy's girl, absolutely a daddy's girl. Oh. And he'd let me go on the mail route, which he wasn't supposed to do, but nobody cared.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I guess, Ronceverte was, everybody did their own thing and it was okay. Didn't make much difference what it was. It was okay.
That's how life should be. The
guys stood on the corner and talked, and in the winter, I don't even remember going to town much in the wintertime. This room was only open 3 times in the winter. It was only open for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Otherwise, it was closed off because there was no door here to the dining room. The kitchen was separate from originally from the rest of the house. So my mother kept to go to the kitchen or dining room. We had to go out through the hall across the porch and around that way. My grandmother wouldn't let anybody change anything, but when she was gone, my mother said, I will have a door.
Yeah. That's right.
I want to show you something that they found when they cut that door.
Okay, yeah. So it was 1869. So that was what was that again, Sue Ella?
That was when they made this door here and into the dining room, and found that there was all this room in between of a regular hall here now that they didn't know was there.
Even existed.
So mostly I just remember living in an old house.
Well, it's a fabulous house. So my last question for you today is, I was going to ask you if you can share a picture of something that is meaningful to you about your life here in Ronceverte.
Well, that's what I do with it. This is one of my prized possessions. My father wasn't just an ordinary farmer. He was a breeder. He liked to, in fact, my sister said one time, well, Daddy was a lot more particular about who he bred the dog to than who we married. Anyway, he had some prize trotting horses, his prize Jersey cow, his prize wire-haired terrier, and his uncle, my great uncle, made this, took these pictures and made this with a picture of me and my sister in the middle, and the caption, Marquis G. Breeder.
And that's a great piece. What was his favorite animal that he bred? Did he have a favorite?
He loved those horses.
Yeah.
But missed the dog. The dog.
Was that your favorite?
Yeah, I loved her.
Yeah.
We all loved her. Yeah.
How long did she live for? Was she your family dog for a while?
Oh, yeah, for a long time. And I don't remember, because the last dog my dad got was also a wire-haired terrier. And he was very attached to his dogs. And he said, my mother told me after he died that he had said to her, now, if anything happens to me, I want you to have Missy put to sleep because I don't want her pounding after me. And she said, he didn't know I love Missy too. Yeah. But that dog was on tranquilizers the day he died. Oh. She never quit looking for him.
Oh. That's so...
I know.
Bless her heart.
No, he loved his dogs.
Yeah. Well, that was a great picture for you to share.
My grandmother loved her chickens.
From dogs to chickens. Yeah. So your grandmother, was she kind of the, I guess, matriarch of the farm, or was it?
Oh, my grandmother was the grand dame. And our outhouse, she called the garden house. Now, and when she was mad at my father, she'd say, now, my dear. And you knew that he was in trouble. And the other thing she used to do, when I had boyfriends, the swing on the porch was on the other, not where it is now, it was on the other side. And her room was beyond that with a door. And if the boy stayed after dark, she'd come out and say, Suella, it's time for that boy to go home. So I did.
She was always looking out for you. Yeah.
My sister was her favorite. Oh. She kept an eye on me.
Suella. Well, Suella, thank you so much for talking to me today. And do you have any last words or suggestions or hopes for the future of Ronceverte?
Oh, I do have great hopes for the future. Wonderful people live here. And when I lived in Michigan, which was a fine place to live, but I told all my friends, I miss my mountains. I'll always miss my mountains. So I think of myself as a mountain mama, and they think of me as a mountain mama too.
You are. Thank you so much, Suella. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.